All right, I'll call the May 16th Corcoran Parks and Trails Commission meeting to order. And we'll start with roll call. Christensen here.
Friedrich here.
Anderson here.
Schmidt here.
Nybo here.
Strahler here.
Okay, and I'll invite everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and for agenda approval, I'm going to suggest we move up the Upward Acres preliminary plat
Right there.
to, can we move it right after, what, meeting minutes?
After presentations, because then
Okay.
you can get through open forum
Okay,
and then
perfect.
presentations.
We'll move it up to presentations. Do we need a movement or a motion?
That'll be part of the agenda approval.
Got it. That's my suggestion. Anything else on agenda? Okay.
Move to approve as amended.
Excellent. Anyone want a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We're good. Okay, now meeting minutes from the work session meeting, April 18th, 2024. Any questions, comments, corrections?
Do we need a motion on those? Being it's a work session? Yeah. I'll motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And now the meeting minutes from the April 18th Parks and Trails Commission meeting. Questions, comments, corrections, or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And we're good. On to open forum. Anything not already covered in the agenda?
We have one individual in the audience. If you would like to speak to anything not on the agenda, you're more than welcome to.
All right. Moving on to presentations, of which we have none. We can get on to our new business, Upward Acres preliminary plat.
Yes, so we do have the applicant in the audience. So if it would be helpful to ask questions, I'll leave that to the chair's discretion. But just so you know, that is an option. Quick overview, Upward Acres, this is the preliminary plat. It's located at County Road 10, just west of Bechtold Road. It's a 6 residential lot subdivision on 61.55 acres of land. It's outside of the 2040 MUSA, and it does have a high-quality maple basswood community on the southern portion. As far as the Parks and Trails impact goes, there are no parks or off-road trails shown on the 2040 comp plan in this area. There is a proposed on-road trail shown along County Road 10. This will likely be a painted shoulder on the roadway added once the road is improved. So that would be down the way a little while. We have to get more right-of-way before we can really make that road improvement, and it would be part of a bigger project, but that would be included as part of the preliminary plat. Shown here, I just wanted to highlight, because I know trees are very important to the commission. The red area are areas that they're saving, that nice forested area with the maple basswoods. So I thought that was a nice thing to note. And then as far as park dedication goes, the 2024 fee schedule park dedication for single-family units is $5,954 a piece. So looking at 5 of those new single-family units, we're looking at approximately $29,770. That is based on the current fee schedule, so could change, but probably not. Staff recommendation is to recommend approval of acceptance of park dedication requirements handled as entirely cash in lieu of land. And then I have one more map in case you guys wanted to see it, but this was in your packet, and I'd be happy to take questions. Otherwise, the applicant is also here.
Jessica, it seems like I remember correctly in the days of old, that the on-road trail used to be what's the word? Sorry, long ago. An easement, thank you, yeah. An easement. This is not an easement, it is something different?
So in speaking with our planner, because my question was a follow-up kind of to a different property that you guys had gone through, there was questions about, will that painted shoulder go in soon? When does that go in? How does that work? Does the road expand? I was told that this would be a right-of-way. I was told a 50-foot half right-of-way.
Okay,
What I
so-
know is it's an on-road painted shoulder that will come in probably years from now when there's better chance to improve the road and get a longer stretch.
And I think that means that the total easement, the total width of the road is 100 feet, 50 feet on each side. So that's why it's the 50-foot half easement.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Now I'm learning
I
something.
think that's right. But then, I'm not the planner, so,
Neither am I.
okay.
And I apologize, her title is no longer planner.
Oh.
She is the interim community development director.
Oh.
Natalie.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, so we went through a bit of a reorg. There was some changes. We can go through it later if you guys want, but
So that easement just gives us the right to paint it later and call it a trail. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Just curious, like, do you have an overhead map just to show like where the nearest park would be in proximity to this parcel?
well, it's outside of the MUSA, so I don't think that there's been a lot of planning towards that. Give me 1 second and I can pull up the Parks and Trails part
Is
of the
this
2014.
the Howard Schleif farm? That's what I thought.
He passed away, didn't he?
Yeah,
Long ago?
not that long ago. The rest of the family did. He just died not too long ago.
Sorry, it's loading.
That's okay.
That one, that tar comes down so far. That tar driveway right now. I mean, the park path, right? Am I thinking the right way? Down 10? From the corner of the trailhead where the,
Oh, man.
trying
now
to
I
think
got
how
it.
far away he is from that.
No, Bechtel. Oh, Bechtel, doesn't Bechtel turn into Strailer across 10?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man. Will not let me
Bechtel's
not
its
turn
own,
it
comes
blue.
into Strailer.
Right, and that's where they're talking.
Yeah, it's,
On the
you got it there.
northwest corner there.
Yep.
No, that right there is, you go down that way.
Between those two open space parks.
Bechtel comes up
Between-
and it tees to Strailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is
But,
off of 10.
but I'm
Which
talking
one?
about down
So
on,
there's
what I'm
two open
talking about
spaces.
is,
Yeah,
you know where
yeah.
that
Jessica's
B
right.
and D and
Okay.
that went?
Right there.
Yeah, B and D and,
So what was your question, Michelle?
I just was wondering how close they were, like how
Oh.
far away it was. That
me
helps.
too. That's
Thank
what
you.
I'm trying to
To the right.
figure out where
For the
the,
big park?
well, no, the path that's already there, the roadway path
Is
off
there
at
one?
30. Isn't there one started down there, I think?
No, no, well, this is off at 10.
That's what I'm saying, right down across from, the convenience store. And then
Oh,
B and
by-
D, and then,
Yep, there's,
Over by
then whatever,
Stormers.
then there's
That
another
trail there.
development. Yeah, that's
Is
what
that
I'm
talking?
wondering. Is that all gonna connect?
What trail specifically?
The trail, by the trailhead?
No, the yellow line is ours, right?
yes,
Yeah. So there's nothing going through there.
Okay.
It's over a little bit.
For those of you who haven't been here a million years, the ASA is Athletic Search Area. Back when, before we
Back when
decided that
we
we were
had-
gonna live with City Park as our athletic field park.
Well, at that point, we didn't own the ball fields.
That's correct. Oh, absolutely,
So-
absolutely. Yep, yep.
We
that's
hadn't purchased them
exactly
from
right.
Rockford yet, so that made a big difference.
Yeah,
So these were potential areas where we would have done it.
where we could have done it, yes.
Facility.
Yep, yep, yep,
So we would target that for purchase, that was the thought? The city would?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Or park dedication as it comes
Sure,
in and gets
yeah.
developed.
And then as the Mucil line moves west, then we will be putting in neighborhood park search areas and all that sort of thing. It just, there's no point in having a neighborhood search area for a park.
So rural.
Because it's still rural.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Thank you.
It seems pretty straightforward. Any
I
questions?
I have a question for the developer.
Sure. If you wouldn't mind, state your name and who you're with,
He
or
does-
no?
Yeah, name and your company.
Sure. Both ready. The LLC is Skyscanner. The developer, my business partner isn't here tonight.
Left you, huh? All by yourself?
Yeah, he has other things to do. He has school meetings tonight.
That's fine.
I guess my question really is that the southern part has a quality woodland, and you've marked some of that off in red in your drawing in the packet that we've got, or somehow it got marked off. And I just and it's marked as a tree preservation, and Corcoran doesn't have a tree ordinance as such. Developers have to mark trees and take inventory, but there is no, so what does it mean to the developer, to the owner of that particular lot, to have those areas marked as tree preservation areas?
We would be, I mean, it's similar to what we did on Bechtold Farms. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that neighborhood, but you drive into a cul-de-sac and then there's kind of a U or, C-shaped woods at the end of the street, and that is something that we did put into preservation, make sure that people can't come in there and clear cut it. And we would be open to doing the same thing here as well. Because if you go back to the plat, you can see where the proposed house septic locations are. I really don't see an opportunity for those to shift east into where those mature trees are at. Because of the wetlands, I think where the house is proposed, it needs to stay there, as well as the septics.
And
You can see all the wetlands here.
Yep.
So if you're looking at down here, you're crossing, you're impacting wetlands, so it's not realistic to do that.
But it would put is it in the deed then, or in the home, is there an HOA that would be,
We plan on creating an HOA here.
okay,
That's something we need to create the documents for, but that is our intention.
okay. And just by way of a question, in the natural resources inventory that we did 20 years ago, there is one piece of high quality woods that's running. It's not on the western border of the property, but it's like, it looks like it must be a set of trees that's grown up on the edge of the fields, between the fields.
Okay.
And that is marked, and that was not included in your tree preservation area.
Where is that located?
Well, it is, can you go to the next page? Yeah, it runs almost.
This would be west, top of street.
Yep, top is west, and it runs, so it's gonna
This is
run
south.
left to right, and it runs kind of right from where your hand is over towards the house site that you've got
So basically from here.
over that way. And it's, I looked at it on the map, and it's, it looks like it's a woods that's 8 trees wide. It's not your huge woods. Was there particular thinking that you made for leaving that off?
We wouldn't intend to impact realistically, anything beyond these 2
Okay,
points here, that'd be left as is.
okay.
So I am the builder as well, so I'm owner of JPC Custom Homes from out of Buffalo. So we'd be exclusive in here, and, so like if, we've identified this as our build spot and really don't see an opportunity to move that, so if anything beyond these 2 points, there's no need to impact it.
I think it's great. It's absolutely what meets Stanton and Corcoran. Save the little bit of woods we've got. It's just a super thing for you as the developer to do, and to have that in the deeds and the HOA
Sure.
to help preserve them.
Yep, well, that's part of the beauty of the property, and that's what we focus on is rural lots, and, we don't get into high density, and, same thing we did on our Beckville project, to preserve those trees, and, it's not easy it takes a long time for them to come back, so. That helps us with the sale of the lots too, we're able to have mature trees on the property.
Nice. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you. All right, I will make a motion to accept cash in lieu for park vacation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Okay, unfinished business. Moving on to park enhancement program.
Give me just a second, I'm trying to organize my papers.
Take your
They
time.
fell and then everything went
Oh.
downhill from there.
Well, let me shuffle mine too.
Yeah, just put them out of order and then you'll be about where I'm at.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I am probably most excited to present this one, if I'm being honest. I have put a lot of thought into these policies. That's not to say I don't want feedback. I want you to criticize it, tear it apart, give me anything and everything. However, I'm a big fan of the title, and here's why. The Park Enhancement Program. Put some pep in your park.
That's good. Mighty
Right?
Jackson's laughing.
I heard it a week ago, don't worry.
And then about 20 times since. Because I'm really trying to sell people on it, right?
Really, in parentheses, put PEP there or something.
I
so we can
know,
catch
but I
on.
wanted it to kind of be a surprise.
Oh, okay.
We know I like a little dramatic flair. So the Park Enhancement Program, we're going to go back, previous commission discussion. We talked about expanding the program beyond just the memorial garden in the back. We established that there are a sufficient number of benches back there, and to be inclusive of benches along playgrounds, trails, within parks, just really expand that program beyond just at City Hall. So, as part of the draft program overview, it should develop a guideline, a standard, a procedure for installation and care of donated park enhancements. This could include, but isn't limited to, park benches, bike racks, picnic tables, drinking fountains, flags. It's not so much the flag itself, but like a flag pole, right? Because a flag is not going to last the amount of time that would be necessary for a park enhancement program. I don't. Authorization. So the Parks and Trails Commission would be responsible for location and plaque language recommendation. So making sure that the location is appropriate, and those would more than likely be predetermined, but we're still in the early phases, so we can look at that as we develop the parks, start honing in on where the benches seem appropriate. Plaque language is pretty self-explanatory. We don't want anything on the plaques that might be offensive or otherwise. City Council would have the final approval on this, so you all would make a recommendation. It would go to council similar to any other recommendation. Maintenance and responsibility. So the life cycle of the donated enhancements is considered to be 10 years. Again, a flag itself would not make it that 10 years, so flag pole would. And then I've also included a 10% maintenance donation, so that would cover the ongoing maintenance of the enhancement. If we have to clean it up, brush it off, staff time, repairs to it, what have you. As far as the process goes, they would submit a form. The form is highlighted because if you saw, it is not included in your packet because I wasn't going to start working on a form until we have a more determined policy. There would be a staff review of submission, so I would review it for completion, location, plaque language, kind of the precursor to the review that you all would do. And then I would notify them within 15 business days regarding when it would go to the Parks and Trails Commission. Following that, when it makes its way to you guys, you would review it and make a recommendation to council. Then council would review and make the final decision. So it kind of goes through 3 stages of review, just to make sure all of the I's are on it that need to be. Oh, that's all I got for it. Questions, and if there's anything specific as far as wording goes that you'd like to see changed, if there's areas that you don't like as a whole, let me know. And if there's anything that you think about after the fact, you can also email me. So if you don't get all of your thoughts in one shot here.
One thought I had, and I know it said not limited to, but just one thing that might be good to have in those, like, those few options of what it's about is maybe safety features or something around safety of the park.
What do you mean?
So, well, what comes to mind is I was driving through Ravinia, and is it Wildflower Park that's in Ravinia? And a bunch of kids playing soccer and kicked the ball into the road almost, you know, so the idea of like a small little, I'm not submitting this idea right now, wait until the PEP is in place, but that's what came to mind is, exactly, something around safety, any sort of safety features, whether it's barriers to wetland areas or anything like that. You know, I just think that a safety feature might add a little more. I mean, it's not as peppy as you probably want it to be, but from an adoption standpoint, I think safety should be a concern at parks.
Are we thinking like fencing? Are we thinking like ballards?
Yeah.
I suppose it would depend on what type of enhancement it was. Like if it was a soccer field enhancement, it would make sense to have fencing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how to word it and incorporate it in.
Yeah.
Just a thought. So.
Would there be specific items people could pick from for enhancements, or would people be able to like if someone came in and said, I would like to put a beautiful granite bench in front of this spot on Cook Highland Lakes because this would be a beautiful spot for something nice to be located?
I highly, highly, highly recommend we have predetermined benches, bricks,
Okay.
waste receptacles, bike racks.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason being, it's gonna be really hard for me to continue a program if the end line is always changing, if the pricing is always changing, if I have to go out and get a new estimate every time. It's a lot easier to update it once a year and say, here are your options. And it keeps things consistent across the board for park standards as well. Keeps the parks looking more similar, you know. I would say we do have a variety of benches back here. So I can see that we have done it. I would just recommend moving forward as we develop a whole park system plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be way too hard to maintain more than a handful of items, right?
So the idea is someone comes in and says, I want to help the parks, pep them up, and then you would give them this list and say, here, take your pick. I can.
Ideally, this would all be on the website. They
Yeah,
could fill out the
right.
form, they could know what type of bench. So included in the packet, it does say park enhancement options. So I've got bench, bike rack, waste receptacles, and bricks. So more info to come, example and pricing. So I would envision putting one example in there, pricing, plus the 10% maintenance cost if you guys go with that.
Okay, I read my packet kind of right when I got it. I haven't reviewed it since. I could have sworn I saw something in there though, or did we talk about like, see if the bench needs a concrete pad? Did we include that in there?
I think I had that maybe in the memo as a topic of discussion.
Is that, okay.
So is that,
Clicked.
yeah, is that something that you would like to see included in the cost?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cause a chunk of concrete's not cheap, we all know that,
Yeah,
No.
is the thought,
and that helps from.
To-
oh, go-
yeah,
go
to
ahead.
have the total cost, whether it's concrete or it's something else, right?
Mhm.
Even the cost to install, what are we, or is that what we're talking about now?
Well, that's
Is that-
part of it. I mean, before
Yeah.
I go out and get examples and start
Yeah.
putting this more formally together,
Mhm.
that's something I need to know. Is that something you'd like to include in it? Is it something that you go, well, we're not having to pay for the bench, so we could cover the cost of concrete? I mean, it's philosophical.
Mhm.
I could go either way with it.
For the ones in the back, the people that donated the benches also did the concrete pads for the two on the back side here.
My understanding is that some of them were installed personally and not by staff or a company.
That is correct.
So the difference being, they might have had the skill set to do the concrete pads. I would also highly recommend we do not let someone do it themselves.
I would agree.
The liability with that gives me a lot of heartburn and anxiety.
Yeah. It was our last chief of police.
I know,
That was
so
the one,
it's
yeah.
one of those like,
Right, yep.
I would say include the total cost, and then if no one's using this program, we can always look into,
Cut it down.
let's discount these
Yeah.
bricks, like, let's
Well,
get some of these out in the world.
It's,
Maybe
it is pretty
overpriced
expensive, which is
yourself.
why he ended up doing the pads himself.
Oh, okay.
Because he would have had to have hired someone to do it, and it would have added like $2,000 to the project cost, was a lot.
You do get
Because
your
they're
name.
solid, they're like,
Yeah, they
they're
have to.
deep,
in
there's-
the
I mean, it-
specifications.
and to be fair, it was granite on top of that, so,
well, the one on the
I don't
back was
know.
only plastic, it's recycled
oh, I
plastic.
thought you were talking about. the
Well,
one
there's
over there.
two, there's that one, but there's also concrete underneath that. I'm not sure what the proper name is, it's
The
a,
two benches with a table.
yeah, there's like, is it a there's a way to say it.
Kind of the, by the
a
yard type
French-
stuff?
yeah.
Where we, you
Oh,
know,
composite?
The composite one,
Yeah.
yep. Yep,
okay.
I do like to sit in that.
I do too.
If we don't include the total cost, then we're subsidizing people's, I don't know what you want to call it, their legacy planning, right? So they're gonna choose a bench, and they say, oh, good, they're paying for the concrete, they're paying for the install, et cetera. So I'm getting a really good deal here.
Mm-hmm.
That's now on the taxpayer to pay for that.
Right.
That's not necessarily who should be paying for it.
Or would that come from park dedication
Well,
funds?
Yeah, I mean, it's all a tax at some point,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I guess I'm with you, Phil, that we include the whole
Yeah.
shebang,
Mm-hmm.
and,
And if we don't, no one does it for 5 years, then we'll realize like, hey, this isn't right.
Yep.
We're not doing it right.
yep,
But since
Agree.
we're starting from scratch, that's what I would suggest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I suppose there'll be a wide, it's a pretty significant range in costs from the simplest to the more ornate, so that somebody just kind of needs to pick the one that they can afford.
If they want to get a brick, that will probably be more of the cheaper option, and then something like a bench or even probably a trash can would be the more expensive options. I mean, even a bike rack, we saw how pricey they get, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
amenities are not cheap, but when you're trying to do something in honor of someone or in recognition, it's worth the money.
Are you saying we can do a trash can in honor of somebody?
Uh-huh.
Okay. This is good to know.
your name can be right there on it.
Yeah, we might want to evaluate that one a little further, now that you bring that up. Good point.
Tom Anderson Memorial Porta Potty.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That doesn't have a 10-year lifespan.
Oh, okay, oh, never mind then. Okay. I have on the first page in the guidelines, the section is general, and it's the second bullet point, due to the cost and staff time. I have no idea what that sentence says.
Okay. Gotcha. So, due to cost and staff time limitations, the city may require multiple requests for enhancements, and I wanted to change that to and/or, appropriate weather conditions before ordering and installation. So installing one of them at a time can get a little pricey, especially when you start to get into like the concrete pouring. And so it just doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes to install only one of them, because the amount of time that it takes to get staff out there, do the concrete, it's a lot cheaper to do multiple concrete pads.
Five pours in one day
Uh-huh.
and then install, if that's how it's going. Okay. Makes
Now,
sense.
if, as Chair Christensen says, if we only get one in the 5 years, yeah, that'll probably go in pretty quick.
Yeah.
But
Would there be like a time frame? Because like if someone were to make a donation and it's coming upon a year and we still haven't received another one, if they've made that donation of money, I would think that they'd want to see that get established. So do we want to maybe specify a time frame?
I would say a year is probably the best call, only because if you do 6 months and they come in September,
Mm-hmm.
we're not gonna be installing it in March.
Good, well, thank you, that,
Mm-hmm.
that makes more sense to me.
Are we gonna have pre-identified areas?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, so as the parks are further developed, I would envision that we start to really hone in on like,
We'll have 2 bench spots.
yeah, this
for
would be a
some
really
park or
nice spot for a
something, yeah.
bench. And it could even be, we install the initial necessary benches and then, oh, this would be a beautiful spot for a bench. But we can wait until someone comes
Yeah.
in with some pep.
Right, yep. It's good.
We saw some nice
Catching on.
locations over, like, when we did the Bellwether Walk. You know, there's some great
Yeah.
locations over there for benches if somebody wanted.
Yeah, we just don't want 10 benches, you know, right in a row.
All over there,
People
no,
would do it.
correct,
You know they would.
correct. We'll start with one.
Yeah.
No.
The other thing is, for the plaques, maybe add some suggested language so that they kind of get an idea. Let's put a name on it, short message, and that'll eliminate a lot of the offensive language and stuff like that anyways.
So an example with Commissioner Schmidt's name on it?
If he's okay using it, allowing their use of his name, yeah, then.
So you're talking a plaque on the bench itself, or on the garbage can, or on
Yes.
I'm assuming, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Or the brick would be,
The brick would be engraved.
engraved, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And where would we be placing bricks
I would
from here on
envision
out?
those would still probably.
Still come back out here?
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, we can discuss alternative locations too
Yeah,
down the road if
takes
you
a
feel
lot.
that there's an appropriate spot. I mean, if there were an abundance of them, it might make more sense. Or if at some point we end up moving from City Hall to get a new building or something of that nature, maybe we move the bricks to a new location if this area were to sell. I don't know, I'm
Right,
hypotheticals, but
right.
we would find a new location for them if something were to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the location section, there's no mention of the donor having any input as to where the enhancement would go. And it's just the one right below my last question. Through staff, Parks and Trails Commission, and City Council review, I think the donor should be involved in the initial discussion. If we've, you know, if we've highlighted a couple of areas that we would like a bench, and the donor always says, you know, none of the spots are right. What I really want is over there, and it's not an appropriate spot for some reason, then it probably just won't happen. But involve the family, the donor.
So the vision I had is to have the predetermined locations included in this,
Yep.
and then they could pick from those. Are you saying expand it beyond that, or are you saying?
Well, I think that's fine. The donor family may say, you know, this was really my dad's spot, because this is the tree that he proposed to his wife on, you know, and if it works to have a bench, I'd say that's a good place for a bench, you know, but, we wouldn't know that if we don't include the donor in the discussion.
So maybe location requests are accepted?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have them on there, or,
And it doesn't mean it's
Not
gonna
always
necessarily get
accepted, but
approved,
yeah.
right.
but at least there it's an option. Got it?
Yep.
Other miscellaneous changes from my end, under location, the final bullet, the city may limit the number of memorials at a particular location. I'd like to change that to enhancements. There's just minor typos or wording things that after reading it again, I would like to propose. That's, I think, the only one. on this one?
You know, with today's climate, um, language issues can be hard to resolve. Sort of like deciding what books go in the library. You know, it can be a source of some contention. Did any of the nearby cities and towns have anything other than just these fairly general guidelines?
I'm sorry, repeat the
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry.
I partially, I got
Yep,
distracted
yep.
trying to make sure
Yep.
we were good on Zoom.
You know, when you say one person's offensive language is another person's statement of fact, and the political or religious propaganda, well, some people believe that anything religious is propaganda. Some people believe that anything political is propaganda. So other people have been, that's what they're really remembered for, is their political work or their religious work. Is there any way to make it more than just the whim of the folks who are on the city council?
Well,
Or-
that's why we've got three different groups
Three different
reviewing it.
groups.
Staff, Parks and Trails,
Okay.
and the council. So, I mean, there's 7 people on the commission,
Yep, yep.
5 on the council. There's me, someone sometimes in the summer. So, I mean, we're already up to almost
Sure.
15 people who
Yeah.
are gonna be looking
Okay.
at it. And truthfully, I'm sure if someone came in with a PEP form, I would bring it around the office and go, oh my goodness, guess what? So there'd be more eyes on it than just that. I think with that, I have less concerns, because I think if someone found it offensive, or if someone didn't find it offensive and someone else did, there's room for that discussion, I guess.
Discussion. Okay.
But I can add, I don't know how to change it, that's the
Yeah, well,
problem.
that's-
That's why I left it kind of vague.
Yep, okay. I really like the maintenance and responsibility paragraph at the end.
The 10%?
No, the 10 years unless otherwise noted,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, life cycle. So we don't have to leave the bench which you could no longer sit in because it's too broken down. You can in fact and will take it out.
And there is another bullet, the last one, in the event of major damage, the enhancement becomes unusable. That's kind of also an option, just because if it gets absolutely destroyed, if someone lights it up with a firework or something,
Don't give them ideas.
huh?
Don't give them ideas.
I know I shouldn't.
What about some sort of renewal program where after the 10 years is up, we reach out to the donor and ask if they want to buy a new bench?
Oh, I might not have it in there.
Last bullet, maintenance and responsibility.
Yeah,
Already nailed it.
Oh, the city will attempt to contact the donor in writing to discuss replacement options. Thank you.
On the same page, good.
Do we want to put a timeline on a response? I mean, I guess if I reach out a reasonable amount of time. I have
Oh,
enough
for
going
the
on that a
renewal?
reasonable amount of time for the average person will be plenty of time. I'll ask and then we'll get to it a month later and,
You mean on the renewal program?
yeah, the
Part of
renewal
the-
part.
Part of
yeah.
it? Well, yeah, or in the email, please let us know within 60 days.
Yeah, it's at your discretion.
Yay or nay,
If you know they're not going to get back to you, then you move forward.
Sounds good. Do you guys mind if I summarize the changes?
Go for it.
So updating to include a timeline for installation of up to a year. Plaques, under plaque language, to include some suggested language. Include the cost of installation and the concrete pad underneath, or maybe, I'll find a way to say like
The
additional.
all-in cost or something.
Additional necessities or something to that tune. Better plan for waste receptacles and plaques, because now that you brought that up, all I can think about is how many people will put their ex's name on it.
Good idea.
I didn't think of that. I ain't got an axe, but.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'll sign up for
That's
2
funny.
right now.
Just we get a lot of trash cans that way.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I have is allowing for location requests. So rewording that a little bit.
Good.
Did
Would
you-
you
and
like me to start working on a form as part of like the next presentation for it? Also, you, Vice Chair.
Sorry, I just was gonna say, I think someone had said maybe do a 60-day, once you reach out to someone, wait 60 days, or you have 60 days. I don't know, did you say that one on the, when we reach out to someone?
For the renewal.
For the renewal.
I can put that on.
Oh, I just thought someone had mentioned that, that's all.
Val did
It was
mention-
just
Oh,
like a
oh.
throw it out suggestion.
Okay,
you know.
I had just jotted it down, so. I
Do we
wasn't
want
sure.
60 days on there? Can we do 30
Maybe
days?
30
A
and then
month
at-
seems a
then at your
lot.
discretion after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, a month is a,
You call, you email, they don't respond, 30 days is plenty.
perfect.
So you're gonna do the form next?
The form and then updates, and I'll bring it back. I can't make any promises on, we're in May, so June. But at least by July.
Okay, it's looking good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yay!
Good job.
It's only taken 4 years.
All right.
Sorry.
Other unfinished business, park standards.
Yes. So, park standards, the updates that were made. So this will be either the 3rd or 4th time that you've seen this document. The updates included a purpose statement, directional signage to the parks. So that was expanding beyond just the wayfinding signs, the directions from like a roadway. Buffering along park borders, and then parking at the parks, more specifically worded, I think was the change. There will be a development of policies. They will be included in the park standards document as they develop, and then updated, like I said, as they come to fruition. Any thoughts before this potentially makes its way to the council? Can I add a couple of additional thoughts? Because again, I reread it, and naturally I want to change some things.
Okay, did it.
Under collaboration for citywide park system, I would like to add et cetera beyond the local organizations and regional organizations, just because it seems very limiting. And I don't like if I forgot to mention a partner or a sponsor or something that they're not listed, then I feel bad. Connectivity, I'd like to add neighboring cities, because I think connecting to their trails are also important. Under policy development / inclusion, I would like to change the memorial recognition program to park enhancement program. Turning over, under unique considerations, there's a sentence that says unique amenity to the park. I'd like that to just say park system. A couple of punctuation things, if everyone is okay with me updating that as necessary. And then a follow-up. So I tried to get NRPA park standards per Commissioner Anderson's request. However, they don't really do the metrics the same anymore. They've changed it. So I have a document that provides some information, but it's really not super relevant. Jackson and I looked through it a couple of times, and we just can't pull the right data to really incorporate it in here. So as far as the general notes go, I don't have anything to necessarily back that aside from the previous park standards document, which is fine by me. But I wanted to update on that. But if anyone would like to see the the National Recreation and Park Association is NRPA. Probably could have started with that. But I have the document. If anyone would like to see it and read through it, or if you want me to send you the link, I certainly can do that.
I picked one.
Just the link would be great.
I will send it out commission-wide. And if you don't want it, you can delete it.
Oh. I just file it minutes ago.
In the blue bin?
No, in one of my many hundreds of baskets in my email.
Since you're changing that local organizations to add et cetera,
Mhm.
this is gonna sound silly, but we shouldn't, that almost seems like those are approved organizations, so maybe say EG instead
I
of et
think
cetera,
EG,
or example.
Okay.
yeah.
I don't want to give the illusion
Do we want
that,
to remove the listed organizations just because it might change over time, and I feel bad if we're adding more in and then they aren't included on it necessarily? Does that make?
that's why if you have an example, if
Okay.
you're calling it out as an example, then even if they're a defunct organization, that was an example at one time.
Can I do IE?
No,
Okay.
that, E.g.
What is the difference?
Id est exempli gratia. Examples versus further alliteration on what you're talking about. I think.
Nice. I got a quick
Yes.
We need a motion.
Is he in finance or
No
like
kidding.
I don't even know where to put a comma.
Okay, I'm resigning.
Motion to use EG.
Good job. Good job.
Never thought that would come up, but you
Challenge.
did
We gotta
ask.
have it right.
I did, and I didn't know the difference, so thank you.
I didn't either, thank you.
God, I learned something tonight.
I've learned multiple things.
I don't know how long I'll remember it.
Oh, cute.
Other thoughts on this one? Do you feel that it needs to come back again before it goes to council? It will not make it to the next council meeting. That agenda's already very heavy, and I will not be able to turn it out by tomorrow.
I think we should send it to the council. You're
I
gonna
think
have
it's
it,
looking good.
you've
Yeah.
just got a couple really small
Minor,
things to
yeah.
change. Let's move it along. Good vote for
So
that.
exciting.
Good job.
All right, then I will make those updates. I was told we don't need a motion on this, just consensus.
All right, thanks again. That was good.
It's good, yeah.
Okay, new business, park naming policy.
We are just going through these.
Mhm.
Alrighty, so park naming policy. The purpose of it is to create a consistent approach in developing unique, meaningful, and inclusive naming that allows collaboration from stakeholders. Stakeholders is a very broad term, but that's the point, because we do want to get public engagement on this, I think, unless someone tells me otherwise. Objectives, making easily identifiable and locatable parks through naming, consistent values and characters of the area, neighborhood, and the city of Corcoran, and encouraging donation of lands, facilities, donations, or sponsorship. This can kind of go hand in hand with the PEP, except for the fact that this is higher value items, right? So we're talking a playground, or a splash pad, or a building. So with this one, authorization would be very similar. Parks and Trails would be responsible for recommending a name to the city council, and then city council would have final decision on acceptance, rejection, or replacing recommended facility names. Small park amenities such as benches, bricks, etc.
That'll
will
work.
be considered for naming through the PEP. General naming guidelines, so a name may be assigned anytime after land acquisition or park or facility development. Naming is approved for an item that has a lifespan and expires when the lifespan is met. And again, the original donor will be contacted and given the opportunity to donate funds to continue the naming of the replacement item or area. With that, oh, go ahead.
Park naming policy, there's no original donation, is there?
So, I guess when I'm saying that specifically, I'm more thinking, like the Wacker Espeseth family, they're looking to do a donation towards the playground.
Okay,
So in that, it would be a donor. I could change it to,
oh, okay, this is, yes, this is more than just parks, it's also things in parks that have a long lifespan. Mm.
Yeah.
like ball fields.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're taking out ball fields, and are we able to rename other ball fields?
You have the authorization to do so.
There you go.
Policy.
Because we have a number of them that need to be renamed.
And that's, I think, part of why we're trying to get this honed in on before we start really making moves on City Park, because we do have Meister and Snyder and Lions, so these are things that I would like to reach out and ask, you know, is this something you were looking to carry forward? Part of that is learning the historical background for it. I think I can make an assumption about Meister, but as far as Snyder goes, I'm not sure. So I'm hoping maybe some commission members, community members can point me in the right direction, but I would address that as we get there.
Val and I are gonna go talk to Mr. Meister.
I volunteer for all kinds of things, you know.
She doesn't know she did that, and he knows all about it, and how Snyder came about as well.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
Oh.
but he's blind, so we have to go and, write all this down, but he's very anxious, he's told me.
Mhm.
She
Denise.
told you, Denise told you
Yeah,
too.
He's excited.
He really wants to talk to us about those parks.
Good. Well, if
That's
you'd like
awesome.
me there as well, I would be more than happy to attend.
That-
Okay.
You know, that's really nice. It'd be, along with just having the name of the place, about who was Snyder,
Yeah.
and why are we naming a park after him too?
Well, she said that it gave her dad like renewed life
Life.
and energy just because he's waiting to talk to us, because he wants us to know how that
That's
field
marvelous.
started.
That's so cool.
I think it's important. I mean,
Yeah.
it's part of the history of the park.
Yes, it definitely is.
That park's been there longer than I've been alive.
No?
So, anyway,
Yeah, we will.
we're gonna make an appointment. I'll see when will be a good time or whatever.
I'll make it work. You just let me know.
Okay.
It's close.
It's what?
You won't have to go far.
I would assume it's within the city for the, oh, I think, yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Probably on Meister Road.
that would make sense.
Corcoran was unique in doing those roads, you know.
Well, Greenfield and Rockford did it too, so.
Yeah.
you know.
It happens. Other questions on this slide? No. Okay. So naming in honor of a person, this is where we get a little more dicey, just because I'm sure you've heard about plenty of parks that have had to change their names. So with this, there's some points of having the person be deceased for a minimum of 6 months. Kind of allows the air to clear, anything to come out right away, hopefully. Additionally, the individual or family has to have contributed significant long-term support either to the development or operation of the park or recreation and park system, to the community of Corcoran, or of a substantial donation, so typically not less than 50% of the value of the amenity or park.
So that's one or more of the.
One or more.
Okay.
Now, this, I believe I worded it similarly to another city where it wasn't a requirement, like it's not something that has to absolutely happen. So there's still some room if you guys want to fluctuate on that. I mean, say someone had a pretty good impact on the community, but they couldn't put up 50% of it. You know, they're meeting kind of halfway on 2 of the criteria and you guys want to still push it through. It's your discretion. So I wanted to leave some flexibility there. Thoughts on that?
So the family that wants to make the donation to the park that we talked about, they wouldn't necessarily fit these 3 criteria.
That's why I left it flexible.
Okay.
So with that, of a substantial donation, typically not less than 50% of the value. Is this a special circumstance where it would fit into that? The other caveat specifically to that family is that there was pre-approval to do it separately from a park
Sure,
naming
yeah.
policy. So there's also kind of that protection if you guys want to go that route. Otherwise, we can also change some of these bullet points. If there's areas that you'd like to add or remove or adjust. And again, you don't have to give me everything tonight. If something comes up as you're laying in bed, you can send me an email. Other questions?
This, we should probably be more specific on than not, only because if the fourth bullet point is, well, special considerations apply, the next person that comes in is gonna say, well, I don't have the money to donate. I've only been a resident for whatever, but here's my situation. And then they're gonna point to whatever it is we approved that didn't meet these criteria and say, well, why are you denying me? And then it opens us up to some possible issues. So I would probably say try to be more stretch. Obviously, the family that came in before, they came to us before this policy, so that would work. But in the future, something like that might not get approved through this sort of policy. So are we okay with that, or do you want to reduce the restrictions?
And actually, it says one or more of the following criteria has been met. So,
Okay, for now, that's in there.
mhm.
That,
Okay, so a substantial donation, typically not less than. So that's kind of your flexibility point, right? Are there any other reasons that you would like to include for naming in honor of a person?
This would be one still living. Once they're dead after 6 months, then the requirements change, right?
So we do have some still living caveats too.
Mhm.
So underneath that naming in honor of a person,
Mm-hmm.
a land donation in which a naming provision has been put into the deed and accepted by the city council,
Mm-hmm.
or a substantial donation of money where the donor stipulated a naming provision. Now, to be fair, we wouldn't necessarily have to accept the money, especially if it had a naming provision on it. That would likely be council discretion. You guys would be able to make a recommendation or a motion though, I would assume. So, again, there's some flexibility, but there's still some guidelines that you can fall back on and be like, well, you didn't meet the criteria. There's some protection there, but there's also a little flexibility.
And this would apply to businesses if they wanted to put, like, someone has a dad that was involved in hockey and he pays for the hockey arena or something. That would
That's up
be,
to you.
okay, so it would apply to businesses or individual people.
do you want it to?
Any other questions on the in honor of a person? I have more slides, don't worry. Renaming of existing park recreation areas and facilities. So this has a greater burden because if people are already used to an initial name, changing it creates some confusion. There's not that continuity of the name, which helps kind of define the community. So there's a caveat there. If we're going to do that, it's just more of a process. And we need to be mindful of a few different areas. So deed restrictions, the individual's character might be a reason to rename it. So there's some parks that people have found out, hey, maybe that person's not as good as we thought they were when we named the park after them. That would be a reason to rename. Renaming and changing it from a geographical feature would have to be a pretty extensive process, because if the geographical feature is there, like if it's Waterfall Park and we have a giant waterfall there, to rename it then causes some confusion beyond just that, right? So those are the points there. Any questions on renaming? It just really emphasizes that it's hard to rename. Commissioner Nybo?
Can you see the wheels turning?
Mhm.
Is that it?
Steam.
Well, would an example be, say, the ball fields we just discussed? Would that be? Or is this more if it had to be renamed for a purpose, like the reasons you gave?
So with the ball fields, let's use like Lions Field.
Sure.
The current concept shows that Lions Field would then become an open green space. We wouldn't necessarily be renaming, we'd probably just name one of the fields 1, 2, or 3. They're named
Lions
Field
Field.
1, Field 2, Field 3. Like, there's an option to rename, right? It doesn't really fit this per se because we're
Okay.
not renaming that amenity because that amenity is no longer there, right?
So at this point, this document is, excuse me, probably for the pretty far out future.
I would say renaming, absolutely. That part of the
Because I was
document.
gonna say, we have City Park and we have Wildflower. Do we have anything else that has your
Well, the
name on it?
Memorial Garden is technically a park, so if someone came in and said, hey, I'd like to rename the Memorial Garden, again, it's kind of a greater burden because we know what's back there, it's in memorial of people, like, that would be a stretch. Does that
Sure.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Does that
I was-
answer the
Well, yeah,
question?
because I was just trying to see what all we kind of had out there that at this point would even be up for consideration for a true renaming. But it's more a document for the future,
Mm-hmm,
so it can be thought through as we go
mm-hmm,
and think about it.
yes.
Okay.
Other questions about renaming?
Are we gonna have more criteria than this in the final version? Specifically for the individual personal character section?
So, I've got parks, facilities, and geographic features named after individuals shall not be changed unless it is found by the Parks and Trails Commission or the Corcoran City Council that the individual's personal character was such that the continued use of the name for a city park, recreation area, or facility would not be in the best interest of the city. Do we want it more specific?
I don't know.
I think if you get too specific, you're gonna make it hard to rename it if someone does something really awful. But also, the likelihood that you guys are taking a park and naming it after an individual. There are special circumstances generally. There's a lot of hesitation now to name parks after people.
Everyone has something in the past. I mean, no one's
good reason
perfect.
not to,
So
Well, right,
you get the wrong person to say, that person, maybe they had a feud or something, but that person did this in the past, get rid of that name on their ballpark, or I'm gonna complain, and it's in your policy, so you better do it. It- I get that there's discretion and it's in the best interest of the city,
Alright. You see.
but you could have the Thomas Jefferson Park, and someone comes in and says, nope, look at what he did in the past, he owned slaves. Get rid of it.
you wanna hear the sentence that
I
says
do,
that?
yeah.
Proposals must meet criteria in this policy, however, meeting all criteria does not ensure
Okay.
renaming.
All right.
Oh, good job.
Sounds like it's got it covered.
I don't want
No.
you to think that
No, I
I'm the
was
smartest
thinking-
person, I took a lot of this from other people.
Yeah,
There are many, many programs, so I'm just encompassing a lot of them together.
thank you for pointing me to that.
Wow,
You betcha.
good question.
Does that second to last bullet on that page of the lifespan of 15 years, is that basically saying that you can't request a renaming? Like, is there a time limit that it has to exist under that name before you can submit for a rename? Like, is that the 15 years or?
The 15 years, I think, is more so like, if the ball field makes it to 20, then we'll keep the name for 20, but if at 15 years it's looking disheveled and we gotta revamp the park again or something, then it's saying after 15 years. So I don't think it's necessarily putting a
Okay.
hard stop on when you have to wait to rename.
Okay, so someone couldn't, I guess in a different scenarios, like someone couldn't come in and say, you know, oh, I'd like to rename this, and we would say, well, it's only been that for 7 years and it has to meet 10 years. Like, there's no like limit of when a name should
Expire.
expire,
It's-
yeah. Is that?
The criteria we just went over would dictate that. The
That covered.
15 years would only the way I'm reading it, refers to this is eligible for a name,
Mhm.
and then
Okay.
it doesn't set the timeline for that name, but when it's reached its full use, it's no longer usable, then it,
Got it. Okay.
That's
Just
how I
wanted
read
to
it.
make sure that was,
I'm pretty hopeful that people aren't gonna come in asking for a lot of renames. So getting almost to your point, I think, naming of amenities within parks. So a lifespan of at least 15 years. Examples include a splash pad, playground, fields, buildings, and it must follow the guidelines listed.
Would we want to say the lifespan of the equipment or of said equipment versus naming out 15 years, just to avoid confusion?
which one?
That amenities and equipment with a lifespan of at least 15 years, one that you just said. Could you just like rephrase it in terms of like, because if it's not, you're saying playground, splash pad, field, et cetera, but why do we even have to say 15 years? Why can't we just say the projected lifespan of the, whatever it is we're talking about?
I think it's better to put an actual time frame in there of 15 years because they should all make it to at least 15 years.
Okay,
And that would be the point that we could then kind of, I don't want to say like release from the name, but that would be kind of that breakaway point if we need it. Does that make sense?
yeah, I just thought it was confusing when we're talking about, there was something else in there, didn't something else say 20 years or something?
Nope, I think
Okay.
you're thinking of the PEP.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay,
Because that
thank
one's,
you.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I've looked at these too many times.
Okay,
But yes, I think you're thinking
thank
of
you,
the PEP.
okay.
You could just say with an expected lifespan.
Alrighty, final one is the process. So similar to the PEP program, request to staff. Again, the form is not created because I want to get feedback before I start that. Staff review of submissions, so making sure it meets the criteria. I would authenticate the statements. So make sure that if we're naming it after someone, did that actually happen? And then make sure it's complete. So after that, it would come to the Parks and Trails Commission for review. This would be the opportunity for the public to provide input. And then the Parks and Trails would make a recommendation to council. And then council would review it and make final decision. You'll notice number 4, in the absence of naming requests, the Parks and Trails Commission would adhere to the criteria listed. That's basically saying, don't pick a name that's not respectful, that doesn't meet our values, that doesn't meet the general criteria of what you could or should name something. And that's what I have for this. Any questions beyond that?
there a reason, so I noticed a couple times you say Parks and Trails Division, or Parks and Recreation Division, and then you use Parks and Trails Commission. Is there a significant difference between those?
Yes.
Okay,
So Parks and Recreation is our staff level.
okay,
Parks and Trails is the commission.
gotcha. Okay,
Does that make more sense?
yep.
Although if
So
you
is
see
it-
anywhere that says Parks and Recreation Department, that I need to know because we are just a division.
Not just a division.
This year.
We are
You're a division.
the best division.
Yeah. Okay.
Does this, just occurred to me, and I didn't look it up earlier. Can a corporation ask for their name to be on something?
That's what Michelle, oh, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Christian, Vice Chair Friedrich. It's really hard to not call everyone by their first names. I would say that's up to you. Yes, if you want it. I don't think it's the worst thing. The likelihood that you're gonna get Target in here to name a ball field after them, not super high, but you might get more of a local donor who'd be interested in donating towards the project, i.e. the J.C.'s.
Yeah.
That was not the right use of IE.
So,
Thank you.
There was that building in Rogers, that new one that just went up, as you go into Rogers off of 101, and it's like 21st century
The bank.
civic center or something.
Yeah.
So that could apply to this naming policy.
Elk River has furniture and things for their community center ice arena situation.
So if we're gonna allow that, we should probably change it when we say person
entity
and
maybe?
individuals. So we use that a couple times, naming in honor of a person, and then the next sentence, consideration shall be given to individuals. And then obviously corporations wouldn't be deceased,
And,
so we might have to work that in.
well, take
If we
sublime
want.
to the ridiculous, like even pets. I'm just, or a canine unit for a dog park.
It's funny that you
Yeah.
said that because there is I don't remember what city, but they named their dog park after their first canine.
If they're willing to donate the money and council gets final say, then I don't see why that would be that bad.
Do you want a separate category for
Like
more
who can be named.
commercial names versus individual or family?
I think so. I think it turns, this, if it's commercial, it really is naming rights. And that's a money thing.
It gets kind
I
of
think-
muddy.
So we
yeah,
could
under-
include something like we have here, where it's, the commercial entity has been a cornerstone of the community or something, we'll have to figure out what the language is, but
Oh,
has
okay.
been part of the
That's
community
true.
for some
Yeah.
time, and provided jobs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I see, you don't wanna just, let's bid it out to the highest
It's-
bidder. So if we keep it like it is for an individual, but apply it to a corporation, I think we could do it. Might take a little more work.
So keep it under that same section, just kind of work the section to incorporate it?
I would say whatever's easier for you. Because if I were gonna do it, I would probably make a separate section. You would have naming in honor of a person and naming in honor of another entity, which could include pets. But keep the similar, let's keep the guideline, the spirit similar,
Keep the PEP the same?
yes.
All right, you guys mind if I review?
Go ahead.
So adding that additional section about commercial, another entity, et cetera. And then amenities and equipment on the last page, amenities and equipment with a lifespan, with an expected lifespan of at least 15 years.
And what, under the commercial part of it, what words are you gonna use? Or what are we?
Another entity is what I have in quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Other.
So I'll figure out wording and maybe look around and see what other people have as well. And
Okay.
incorporate a few different
I mean,
things.
'cause-
It'll come back. It's not going to council
Okay.
right away.
Because
so you'll see
overall,
it.
I'm not real thrilled with it. I don't care how much they put into it, a business,
Well, so,
to name the park Best Buy Park.
yeah.
And I don't mean to use Best Buy, whoever's, offended by that, because oh boy. Or, or Waste Management, or whatever it is, park, when they're not, I would rather our parks be
So,
more personal to Corcoran, that's all.
I agree. My only counterpoint would be that
Yep.
if we have similar language, so an outstanding community individual could be an outstanding community entity.
Okay.
Maybe that business has served the community in a special way for the last 30 years.
Sure.
Maybe we want to allow that. It's still all gonna be at the discretion.
I'm
of
with you,
council. Yeah,
then,
so I get
yeah.
it though, like, we don't want Target and Best Buy coming in here.
Yeah.
Not that they would, but
Exactly,
just
but,
paying the most money so you get it.
right.
Is it something maybe where instead of allowing the naming of a whole park, it's only based on amenities?
Facility or facility,
So,
like a
like,
Yeah.
a
you
civic
can name
center.
the splash pad, or you
Or
can
a
name
Best
the
Buy
field.
warming house, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or is that something the
That
commission is
makes
more
more
comfortable
sense.
with?
We may miss out on a lot more amenities that way too. So just keep that in mind. If some business that the community knows and loves, has loved for the last 30, 40 years, comes in and wants to pay for the whole park,
Mm-hmm.
nope, sorry, build us a warming house instead, please,
Right.
at a tenth of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very special situation, probably won't come up very often,
Yeah.
but in the case it does, I would want to allow it, but
Sure.
No, I see your point.
I'll look for a consensus, because I gotta update it, and there seems to be a split here.
Can we do a vote or no?
Well, no, I agree.
Oh,
I
okay.
agree with what he's saying, you know.
Yeah.
I just don't see want to feel a big business, like I said. I mean, if it's
So-
somebody who's local and been here for,
Stanchion Park.
How
yeah,
about,
yeah,
how
Stanchion wants to pay for the whole park, awesome, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
so how about we have her draft it without the restrictions on the facilities? We'll see the language you're gonna come up with, it's gonna be beautiful. And then we can determine,
Yeah,
let's restrict it more, or no, this is pretty good.
I'm game for that.
So an
Sounds
example
good.
would be that we've got the linear park, and if St. Therese should decide, let's call that St. Therese Park, would we consider that? Then they might actually, I mean, that.
The which
that-
park?
Well, there's the linear park that's running along 116 right in front of St. Therese. Do I have that right? Yeah. And they may, that park doesn't have a name at this point, but it could be St. Therese.
But it's a
Park.
city park.
It is a city park.
I might not remember,
Yeah.
okay.
They have the amphitheater that's
But-
gonna be somewhat in close
To
proximity to
me,
that.
anything that
too.
is a city park then shouldn't have a St. Therese on it, because people think that's whose
Well,
it is
it-
then, right?
There's a lot of public facilities with
Yeah,
private commercial names on them, I think that's kind of part of our society.
Mm-hmm,
So I wouldn't say yes or no to St. Therese, but it's good to have the option.
mm-hmm.
They only meet one of the criteria here, and we may say, no, they have really no historical significance to our community. Thank you, but we don't want your money, right? I mean, we could, or, boy, we could expedite this park
Mm-hmm.
creation by 5 or 10 years. I don't know, it might be worth it,
Or
right?
maybe we compromise and go Corcoran Linear Park at St. Therese.
Yeah,
Sure,
right,
sure,
right.
sure.
So it leaves the
Yeah.
door open, where they
Yeah.
wouldn't even offer it. We outright said no in our policy.
Sure,
But yeah, that's a
yeah.
good
good, yeah,
example.
that's a good topic, yeah.
Can I add maybe a solution that'll appease all? Maybe we make the proposals must meet criteria in this policy, however, meeting all criteria does not ensure renaming. Maybe we put that as the whole policy. Just because you meet all of the criteria, it doesn't guarantee anything.
I would agree.
Because that way, it still gives the flexibility of allowing bigger donors to come in, but allows the decision to be at a local level.
Keeps us
Yeah.
from being in a corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there, oh, I gotta wait till she got that thought down.
Go ahead.
Is there criteria around the amount, the donation amount? If it's a building, it should be this much. If it's a bench, it should be this much, or how does that work?
This is the one, the 50%,
Oh, okay.
right?
Oh, is that?
Yeah,
okay.
50% of the value of the property,
Oh,
a
okay.
substantial donation.
That's what that was, gotcha.
That-
That was naming in honor of a person.
In honor of her,
And would apply, I would assume, to
we did the other,
another entity,
Other
Okay.
entities.
other entities,
Yes.
not us,
Is that what-
i.e.
What was that last thing you added though?
To make the proposals must meet criteria in this policy, however, meeting all criteria does not ensure
Yeah.
renaming, but I'm just gonna make it say naming and put it more at the top of the document.
Yes, I like that.
But,
Is the lawyer gonna look over this? Because someone's gonna come in, they're gonna say, I met all your criteria, and you rejected me for what? And they're gonna speculate on what that is. So I don't, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if that would open us up to a lot of liability, but it seems like it could.
I'm not a lawyer.
Okay.
I'll talk to Jay. I would hope that adding the caveat of this does not ensure renaming would be enough to be like,
Sure, yeah, it just worries me that
I agree.
I come in and say, what do you have against my family, right? Or something worse. So,
I see where you're going.
check your box.
Yep.
Okay.
Other items in it? And again, if anything comes up later tonight, in the next month, just shoot me an email, a text message. I think most of you have my number.
Okay, do you need any more direction or?
I'll come back with the form and the updates.
Excellent. You've been pretty busy. Okay, new business Bark in the Park event.
Alrighty. So, previous discussion, I told you guys about the influx of the dogs off leash and the dog waste not being picked up. We're working through signs still, that's a whole thing in itself. But the opportunity. So in discussions with Jay, we were talking about hosting a Bark in the Park event or something similar. Maple Grove does Tales and Ales. I've heard of Halloween. We're looking at probably sometime in July or August of this year. It would be used to educate the public on the rules of the parks, better understand the needs of the community, and kind of interact with them, get that engagement aspect of, we see that a lot of people are using this park, and they're using it kind of like a dog park. Is this something you feel the community needs? That kind of helps segue that conversation a little bit. And also including local community businesses and organizations in the event. So I've seen people bring in rescues, I've seen people bring in food trucks, I've seen people bring in vet services, grooming services, either on site to do it on site or just as like a, hey, check us out, and hands out business cards. Preparation, so I'd be communicating with those other cities that host similar events. I've got a list of them that do. Other than that, we haven't done like any work on this because I don't want to do the work if it's not something that people want, right? I need some direction. So at this point, I'm looking for feedback on if you think this would be valuable, if you're on board with this. Ideally, we would cover the cost through donations, sponsorships, you know, getting these organizations out there because they also get the exposure then. So hopefully there wouldn't be a charge associated with that. And then likely it would take place at City Park. Thoughts initially?
Is the intent of the event to get those people who are, like, not picking up their waste and off-leash to come there and learn those rules, or I guess?
Yes, so it's
So-
kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
We want to educate them like, hey, you do need to have a leash here.
Yeah.
And that's a really good way to do it because it's like, there are so many other dogs here. So please put your dog on a leash. This could happen at any time. There are also children that use this park. So really getting that educational piece to it, but then also trying to better understand, you're using it a lot with dogs who are off leash. We're not picking up the waste. Is it that you need a trash receptacle? Is it that you need dog bags? Is it that you need a dog park? What is the need? How do we address this problem?
Yeah, so just thinking like how, like what does the education look like? Like how does that play out?
Yeah.
Making it very clear.
Like, you
Oop,
find
your
that-
dog just pooped.
perpetrate-
Demonstration?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I've never heard of that where you can pick up the.
Yeah. This is
I love
how
it, I
you-
love the name, but I
No,
feel like
do
it's
too.
a little bit misleading. Because it sounds like it's gonna be like this really great, fun event.
It should be.
Okay,
That's the point.
okay.
Otherwise people won't come.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, if they're gonna, I mean, I think it's good that we have to let them know that this is what's expected in our parks. But I'm just wondering,
To be clear, I'm not going to be using a megaphone going, you need to put your dog on a leash. The focus is going to be like, here are some cool dog businesses, dog amenities, but also,
by
hey,
the way,
maybe pick up the dog waste. And then getting that understanding of why aren't we picking up the dog waste?
Would it help?
do we
if
not have enough of the little receptacles that have the little doggy bags?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, would it help though if we got some over there now? Now that
The-
it's summer and all that kind of stuff, get some, you
The,
know, the bags in the roll and the garbage sitting right with it and.
we talked about it at a staff level. The concern is the ongoing cost and the fact that we're looking at remastering City Park to install them for essentially one summer. By the time we would order them and get them in.
Gotcha.
So I think it's definitely something to consider moving forward, and I believe that it was included in park standards as a possible amenity for consideration.
It was.
And if it wasn't, then we should probably add it.
Right.
But we did discuss it. There's also the added cost of replenishing the bags
You're right.
and the staff time to check the bags, refill the poop bags. I mean, I think there's value, but there's also some other considerations to work through. We have so many trash cans. I'm convinced people just need bags, but I want to know what they need.
Mhm.
And I think this is a good way to get everyone there who have these needs.
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea if we can get a no cost to the city through donations and tables, whatever you want to raise the money with.
This one, I am gonna ask for a recommendation, just to be safe, because, and even if that recommendation is no, absolutely not. But,
Since you're looking at other cities that have done similar things, you have some good feedback on what was the draw, what wasn't effective?
I've really only heard back from one of my counterparts
Yep.
in New Brighton. She said she didn't run into a lot of problems at all. There was only one incident with a dog and a small dog.
Okay.
But the two owners worked it out. They said people really enjoy the event and it gets a decent amount of partnership. The big thing was keep the tables far apart so that people can walk through without their dogs kind of being super close. So it was a lot more of the, hey, here are things to be considering while you're doing it. Their draw was just because it's a special event and it's something cool for their community.
Sure.
Which, to be fair, is part of the intention, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely, yeah. I mean, we have the red, what is it, red roof,
Red Bar,
red bar, yeah.
all
In
season.
town,
all
and
seasons.
the vet down
Yeah,
here,
pet care center.
pet care center here.
And
You-
all seasons too.
Pardon?
All
Oh,
seasons
no,
on
Mhm.
all
Corcoran.
season, get those folks involved, and,
I've got a list going.
yeah, I bet you do.
I haven't started preparing anything, but as thoughts come in, I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
forget them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well-
That's sounding, yeah. Now I'm envisioning it with those, I was just thinking a bunch of dogs in the park and you sitting there with the megaphone saying, pick up your poop. So I wasn't, this is much better.
Anytime I see a dog
Yeah,
squat, I'm gonna pick it up.
yeah.
And
No,
you know
I
who
like
you
that.
are.
I like, having the local
So
animal
when
places.
would be a time for this event, being the park's pretty busy over there with baseball, t-ball, blah, blah?
Weekend.
On a
So I would
weekend?
envision either a Saturday or a Sunday. That seems to be pretty common. I can tell you that Maple Grove and Plymouth both have theirs on Saturday this weekend. I am not saying we do ours on Saturday this weekend,
Yeah.
but, so the common theme is to do it on the weekend is what I've seen.
Sure.
Probably get more people.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's pretty busy over there during the week, during the summer, right?
Yeah, I would not even consider doing it
Up until
in the
when
week.
is it busy over there?
I'm sorry?
Until what, the end of September?
Labor Day, yeah.
For, like, during the week?
Mm-hmm.
End of September, yeah. It slows down after soccer season, so about mid to late August is when it kind of slows down, and then we have fall baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers for fall baseball is usually a little lower, so it kind of is a bell curve. It really increases, hits its peak with soccer, and then goes down.
So have, you're over there quite often, obviously. Is there less of a mess in the summer?
With dog poop?
Uh-huh.
No.
It's worse.
I can tell you,
Okay.
I have brought in numerous Target bags and put them in Jackson's Cube to prepare for summer.
Okay.
Because especially during like soccer season, when you actually have kids playing in the outfield in the open
Right.
space where there's, unfortunately, I don't know how to resolve it without trying other options, right? Like, we could post it all over Facebook, but that doesn't mean, and
Is there-
that's not to say this is gonna educate all the people who are doing it, right? Maybe they like to go there when there's no one else around and that's why they take their dog there. But word of mouth, at least getting some people on board with the leashing and picking up waste.
Mhm.
And there's garbage cans all over for them to
Yes.
dispose of it.
And a
Every single field
Fine.
has a trash can. Some of them have more than one trash can. The pavilion has at least 3 or 4 trash cans. They're along the trails.
Is there a fine currently posted? Or it
Posted,
exists?
no. I'd have to check with PD. Would they enforce it with a fine? That would require a lot more talk.
Of course, yeah, that would definitely,
It just blows me away that people
I know.
have animals and don't pick up after them, that's all.
Does
You
it
and me
really?
both.
Kinda,
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's one lady that
Surprising,
brings
but-
hers out every morning and turns them loose on Meister. Just lets them go.
oh, 'cause it's a dirt road.
No, because it's, it's fenced so many areas around. So she can keep them kind of in a caged area.
I think
And-
that's why people use the fields.
Yeah. They do it. I know that one for certain, because I wanted to drive over and I thought I better not, I better let the police know I'm gonna do that.
Okay, so you need a recommendation to move forward with this?
Yeah.
If you guys are on board with it, I would like a recommendation to council.
Do you want to try the
Shows that you
motion?
guys are in support
So you
of
need a
it.
motion? I'll make a motion for staff to move forward with the Bark in the Park event.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Good. Got your recommendation.
Thank you.
All right, we already did Upward Acres, so
Maybe hand out
reports
leashes.
and information, planning project update.
And when we get to it, we do have Councilmember Nichols on.
Oh, excellent, okay. Something you want to point out, or? No?
Anything I would want to point out, I don't think would likely be included in here.
Gotcha. Is everyone good?
I'm good.
Excellent. All right, keep moving on. Program coordinator update.
Thanks, Chair Christensen. I resumed my employment here, season number 2, on April 26th. Since then, it's been very busy. On the program side, baseball started up on April 30th. We have 217 kids on 20 teams for spring baseball this year. 25% of them are residents playing spring baseball this year. Additionally, soccer registration is open now through Memorial Day. We have 247 kiddos registered as of today. 37% of them are residents. Right now, we're working on doing a final social media push to try to get those numbers up a little bit before registration closes at the end of next week. We're also confirming coaches and referees and starting to get that season going. Additionally, outside of youth sports, starting to work on night-to-night donations, get the gears turning for that. Sorting through, replacing out some more equipment for soccer and baseball out of the park. And then, as the picture shows, my second week here, I got to
Clean up.
go to cleanup day again this year. Last year, I assumed the title of the mattress guy. As you can imagine, there's some pretty gross mattresses that end up coming to cleanup day, and last year one attacked me. So this year we kept the tradition going of me being the mattress guy. So.
Thanks for your time with that.
Yes.
He's been renamed
You
the
look really in
Meister of
control.
mattresses.
It looks, you have it really under control.
in all seriousness, it is a pretty fun event, actually. And it's not as bad as it would seem like, other than the random mattress coming in. But I'm happy to be back. There's some great participants and residents, and business owners and staff here, and it made it an easy choice to come back again this year. So
Good.
happy to be here.
Good.
Good to have you.
Back.
Yeah.
I gotta say, he's been doing phenomenal.
Oh.
He came back, he jumped right into it. Minimal questions, honestly, he remembers everything from last year, and it's so easy to have someone come back who knows it, who gets it, and honestly, we've had more time to focus on, like, he looked through the policies too, and it's like having a second set of eyes and a second brain to have work towards the same goals. So I'm very excited Jackson is back.
It's definitely
Good.
nice not having to spend so much time relearning everything and being able to spend more time on stuff like that. So it should be a good summer.
Good.
I was wondering why you didn't introduce him. Everybody knows him.
Oh, I apologize, yes.
You're not even gonna introduce him.
The poor guy.
Jackson Shipley.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
So Jackson, are the kids having a good time?
They are. It's been baseball's gone off pretty smoothly this year. I feel like a lot of it started going well, so
Good.
no complaints. So that's good.
Fun
Except
first,
it
huh?
rained a lot.
Yeah, the first week was rainy, but
Okay. That's
Use
part of
all the-
baseball too.
yes.
Yeah.
Last year we didn't have much rain, so we'll take that at the beginning of this year. But no, otherwise it's been going good.
Good.
So soccer will start up here and it'll get even busier.
Well, thank you for coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here.
All right, recreation supervisor update.
So mine features a picture of Tom.
Yeah, who's that old guy there? Yeah.
Very nice.
He's like the Lorax. He loves the trees. So youth athletics, I handed off most of that to Jackson, which has been awesome. Night to night, I've been looking at food options. I updated the sponsorship letter and the volunteer sign up page. So if anyone would like to volunteer at Night to Night, I can send you the link. Park planning, so defining that scope of work with HKGI. And then entering the schematic design phase. So after all of the reviews of the concept plans, we're moving forward. We're gonna start looking at wetland delineations and surveying and staking and getting quotes for all of that, bringing those back to council. But we did get approval during the council meeting last week for the schematic design phase, which is approximately $113,000. But well worth it, because then we can start really honing in on those designs. We're looking at an architecture building study to determine the feasibility of certain things being in the building and getting a better idea of what it would look like. Not necessarily the external stuff, but this would fit 2 changing rooms, a restroom, kind of a general layout. So that's exciting. Policy development has been really big, so that PEP, the park naming policy and park standards. And then as far as most miscellaneous things go, parks and trails packet, tree handout as shown by the photo, cleanup day, city council reports, and then newsletter articles. Questions?
Does that cleanup day include electronics recycling?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
There is pricing
Show it
associated with it, but now you missed
Oh.
it, so you have to wait until
Well,
next
my work
May.
does one next week, so that's why I was asking. We did one too. It's a good program.
It was well attended, but because of the rain, I think it was lower in numbers, but not by much.
Do those fees you mentioned, what was it, 113,000?
Mm-hmm.
Does that come out of the park funds?
I think it's coming out of long-range planning, but I would have to double check.
Got it.
And then there would be additional costs associated once we get those quotes rolling in.
Yeah,
Those,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, subcommittee miscellaneous reports, city council report.
I am realizing in this moment I never printed the updated copy, and I apologize. However, you should have received it in your email, so my apologies.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Almost. Try one more time. Oh, no, now it's worse. All right, let's try this.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody, for your great deliberations tonight. There isn't a ton on the list that I thought would be of particular interest to you, but I remember when we had our walkabout in the Bellwether Open Space Park, I was actively recruiting people to apply for the vacant city council position. That has now been filled. So former Planning Commission Chair Lanterman has stepped up to the city council at this point, and now we have an opening on the Planning Commission. So if any of you know anyone who'd be interested in joining the Planning Commission, it is a little bit more rigorous, I would say, than what we have to do in parks. Sometimes the meetings can go a little bit longer, but it's definitely still a valuable service. So if anybody would be interested in a dual role or stepping into that commission vacancy, or if you have any friends or family in the community who would be interested, please do keep that in mind. We're going to keep that application window open for the next month to give ourselves the best shot at some high quality candidates. So in the April 25th City Council meeting, that was when we filled that vacancy. We also approved an updated organizational chart, and I think I've already congratulated Community Development Director Natalie in the interim basis. But Jessica also has a new role. Jessica, have you shared that with the commission?
So, yes and no.
Community engagement, correct?
Well, yes, but I don't think the title was formalized.
Okay.
So I think there's still some work that has to go into that. There's some discussions occurring as far as title goes, but proposed was Community Engagement Supervisor.
In recognition for all the great work that you've done on Night to Unite and the Holiday Parade, and whenever there's a big community event, you're always in the heart of it. So thank you for all the work you've done in the past, and I hope you're excited about what the future in that role could be.
More work.
More people? I
More
love
work.
people.
But if you love it, does it really feel like work? I don't know.
Nope. If you love what
At
you do, you
the
never
May
work a day
9th
in your
meeting,
life.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
Good job.
At the May 9th meeting, we did approve the city park moving on to the next stage of development, as was just discussed. We also gave direction on the K-9 program for the police, so we are moving toward trying to recommission having a K-9 officer as part of the Corcoran police force. And we also enabled the hiring of 3 additional officers, one pulling ahead a hire that we had planned for next year, just because we had a really lucky draw of an excellent candidate pool when we were recruiting for 2 roles and had a third really strong applicant. So it's great to have a community with such a well-respected and high-performing police force where they really treat the community well and the community treats them well in return. And it was exciting to get enough word of mouth and excitement amongst officers to be able to fill not only the open roles, but also one that we had anticipated for later. Any other items anybody would like me to discuss? I would be happy to field any questions.
I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Garden Club report.
The garden's growing.
It's green,
too?
it's getting greener.
Most of the green things are green, the brown things are still brown.
Excellent. All right, let's go on to the park dedication fund.
No change.
No change. No questions.
We're still missing a finance manager.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that Jackson here is a finance major.
He is a finance major.
All right, no other business announcements. Commission liaison calendar. Everyone take a look, make sure that works.
It is a Tuesday meeting.
It is a Tuesday, and yes, I may have someone from out of town in town. Can somebody else switch for next Tuesday? I could do, doesn't matter. I could do one of the next two ones.
Where is it?
Yeah, this
I'm
one.
on the wrong page here.
I don't know, it's right here.
I
When are
could
you-
switch if you want to take August 8th, although
Um,
that's probably not good because that's,
Well, that's right before country
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can try and tune in via, are they still,
yep.
because, yeah, I had a friend coming in town and actually asked to stay at my house overnight in the whole bit. Like,
You know, I could do next Tuesday, 5/21.
do you want to switch, Tom?
Sure,
And I'll take the 27th?
yeah.
Never mind.
I'll pop that on the calendar. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, anything else before we adjourn? Then I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Bye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Good job.